Hello everyone, it's Gold Gear. Today it's finally time to talk about Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando. With the undeniable success of the first game, Insomniac Games wasted no time and gifted us a sequel in 2003. The game has a lot of awesome improvements that fixed some issues from the first one. However, there are also a few problems that are surprisingly not talked about much. Many people think this game is one of the best or even the best in the series. But is it truly as great as they say, or is it actually overrated? Let's find out. The game begins with Ratchet and Clank becoming famous after saving the galaxy and now living a normal life. Clank is happy with it, while Ratchet is missing some action and adventure. Soon they discover that an experiment has been stolen from Megacorp, a prominent company in the Bogan galaxy. Mr. Fizzbudget, the company's leader, offers our heroes a job to retrieve the stolen experiment. Excited for a new mission, Ratchet heads to the thieves' lab. Right from the beginning, it's clear that Ratchet's movement has received a significant upgrade. The controls feel much smoother now, and the addition of strafing provides greater flexibility during combat encounters. Overall, it's immediately apparent that, unlike the previous game, this is more of a shooter with platform elements than a platformer with shooter elements, and I welcome that change. Also, selecting a weapon from the weapon wheel pauses the game, which was sorely lacking before. When you tried to select a weapon in the first Ratchet and Clank, it made you an easy target for enemies, and in order to select it without dying, you had to go to the pause menu, which took much longer. However, not all of the first game's problems were fixed. For example, there are still too many weapons to fit into one weapon wheel. Why not make two? Well, at least we'll finally get that in Up Your Arsenal. I mentioned that this game is more combat-based, which means there should be more weapons, right? Yes, the developers have provided us players with a lot of new guns, far superior to what we had in the previous game. There are weapons ranging from a bomb launcher that destroys everything in your path, to a gun that spews lava, and even a weapon that turns enemies into charming sheep. Sheep are cool and cute, and we love them, so that gives this game a few extra points. One of the best improvements is that these weapons can be upgraded through usage. Unlike the first game, where there wasn't much reason to buy and use every weapon, this time it's different. The ability to upgrade your weapons will make you want to collect and use them all. It is really satisfying to see cool design changes and new abilities that come with upgrading your weapons. Using all the guns also adds a lot of variety to the combat and keeps things exciting. To survive battles with enemies, it's not just about having weapons. You will also have to purchase different armor to reduce the damage you take. There are 4 of them in the game, and each additional one logically gives you more protection. Personally, I like the Carbon-X armor the most, even though it is the most expensive one. A lot of things in this game are actually pretty expensive. It's quite difficult to buy all the weapons and armor and also pay the various characters to give you what you need to progress. It can even be a little annoying, especially when a guy wants 40,000 from you and then ends up just eating them.
What? Now even the computers are charging us? That's it.
However, this need for bolts gives you the motivation to complete all the challenges the game offers you. In case you forgot, bolts are the currency in this universe. Since we have been discussing weapons, we should also talk about gadgets. Along with returning favorites like the grind boots and swing shot, there are cool new gadgets to spice up our adventure. My favorite is probably the Therminator, which can freeze or melt water depending on what you need to get through the level. However, there is also a dynamo that can activate various platforms, or a device that can allow Ratchet to take control of certain robots. I wonder if this can be used on Clank as well.
Do not even think about it.
Speaking of Clank, guess what? You can play as him in this game too. He still controls the cute robot dogs, but now he also has new specialized robots at his disposal. These robots can smash obstacles with hammers, create bridges over pits, and even lift heavy objects. Unfortunately, the lifting robot is only used once in the entire game, which is kind of weird and funny at the same time. The developers apparently forgot about this poor guy. Overall, Clank's gameplay in this game is much more enjoyable, thanks to improvements in his controls and the fact that his levels are shorter than in the previous one. Let's move on to the planets. Every planet in this game is visually impressive and thoughtfully designed. Most levels also show a strong connection to Megacorp and its significant impact on the galaxy. You will explore various locations, including a Megacorp testing facility dedicated to evaluating product safety, a Megacorp chemical factory where chemicals are made, and even a desert that was once a thriving rainforest until Megacorp turned it into a bustling mining site. You will usually be able to complete all the levels on your first visit, with the exception of a few platinum bolts or other items that can only be obtained by acquiring specific gadgets. For example, once you get the gravity boots, you can return to planet Uzla and discover a secret cave where an exciting bonus boss battle is located. The gameplay of the sequel is largely the same as the first game, but with some new introductions, such as arena battles, collecting crystals in deserts, and spaceship levels. These new additions weren't really that good, but that's understandable because the developers were just trying something new and couldn't do it perfectly yet. For example, the concept of arena battles is great since it offers more opportunities to earn bolts and prolong gameplay. However, in my opinion, they can become monotonous due to lengthy challenges and limited variety. Nevertheless, I appreciate their inclusion, as they established the foundation for the more diverse and exciting arenas in the future installments, which feature elements like turrets, sinking platforms, and jetpack sections. The same can be said for collecting crystals and moonstones. The idea of collecting these items for bolts is great, but the execution falls flat, as it mainly involves running around a vast empty landscape, which quickly becomes really boring. It's interesting how in later games, planets like Savali, where you also have to explore wasteland and collect items, became some of my favorites in the series. But Tabora and Grelbin from this game stand out among my least favorite planets. Now, let's take a moment to discuss the spaceship levels. I must admit, they aren't exactly my cup of tea. The controls for the ship feel clunky, and the task of destroying enemy ships just doesn't bring me much enjoyment. Of course, everyone has different preferences, so if you happen to enjoy them, that's absolutely fine, but personally, I often feel a sense of disappointment when I know a spaceship level is coming. Before we explore the story and characters, let's take a moment to talk about the boss fights. This game has more bosses than its predecessor and offers a more exciting experience. Some bosses are very creative, like B2 Brawler with his menacing tentacles, or Megapede, who can throw off body parts that turn into turrets. The final boss with a mutated protopet, also known as the Experiment, is also very funny. It's like fighting a giant Furby. However, not all bosses in this game are good. For example, the battle with the giant robot on planet Snevelag is particularly disappointing. It's my least favorite boss in the series because it requires running around the city and using turrets, which is boring and takes an incredibly long time. Now we finally get down to the characters and the plot, where I have quite a few complaints. So, after returning the experiment to Mr. Fizzwidget, Ratchet and Clank discover that the thief is actually a female Lombax named Angela Cross. Angela previously worked for Megacorp as a scientist, and stole the experiment because she believed it was a threat to the galaxy. However, instead of explaining everything to our heroes right away, she decided to keep them in the dark, and send them to different places to figure things out for themselves. This decision puzzles me, because Angela could have easily explained everything to Ratchet and Clank right from the start, gaining their support and cooperation. Anyway, it eventually turns out that Mr. Fizzwidget is actually Captain Quark in disguise.
Alright, just what the is going on?
He had locked the real Fizzfidget away and took over the company to produce dangerous pets. His plan was to save everyone from this menace and regain his status as a hero. This plot twist might have worked in a game like Crash Bandicoot, but in Ratchet and Clank it feels rather ridiculous. While the series has never taken itself too seriously, this twist stretches it a bit too far. Now I would like to talk a little about our main characters, who are almost unrecognizable from the first game. I find it funny that there are a lot of videos where people criticize Rift Apart and say that Ratchet is drastically different from himself from the past, but at the same time, I have seen almost no one criticize Ratchet's change between the first and second games. In the original, Ratchet was cautious and mistrustful of others. However, in this game, he seems more naive and readily believes everything Mr. Fizzfidget says. Clank, on the other hand, who was once naive and easily influenced, has become more skeptical and reasonable. This shift is particularly evident when comparing similar cutscenes from both games. In the first game, when Darla was eaten by an amoeboid, Clank showed concern for her, while Ratchet was solely focused on the races she mentioned. But in this game, when Angela was kidnapped, Ratchet worries about her, while Clank appears indifferent and only cares about their overall goal.
And we have to protect her!
Okay.
Speaking of characters, I would also like to mention this female robot. She doesn't have much of a purpose and can be considered useless in the game. I think there may have been bigger plans for her character, but due to time constraints, they didn't fully develop her role, but decided to keep her in the game regardless. The only time she proves useful is when she shows a video of Quark's plan, but even that seems pointless since Quark talks about it afterwards.
So, what do you like to do for fun? Oh, my goodness.
In conclusion, I really like this game. It has great combat, amazing level design, outstanding soundtrack, and lots of small improvements over the first game. Unfortunately, there are some aspects that I find a little boring, which keeps it from being one of my favorites in the franchise. Additionally, I noticed that the story has almost no impact on future installments, as none of the new characters make a return, except maybe Stuart Zurgo, who many gamers might not even discover. Nevertheless, I still highly recommend this game because it's a lot of fun and guarantees a great time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new videos. I am GoldGear, thank you for watching and stay gold!
Come on, Clank, let's get going.